Almost there.
Cool.
Okay, we are live and we are recording. Cool. Thank you so much for joining me today, Faye, on another episode of Spacebands webinar series. Today's expert is Fay Simpkins, and we are going to be speaking all about the magical, ready for the big introduction? Occupational well-being. So, Faye, could you tell me a little bit about your current role or what a regular day looks like? And what do you do?
Yeah, hi. So I'm currently head of occupational health and wellbeing at National Highways. Actually, at the minute, my regular day is not quite as normal as it should be because I'm on a phase return myself from being quite unwell and having surgery. So it's been weird, but it does show that our service works because I've been through it myself, which is not the most common thing. But normally for me, I manage a outsourced service of occupational health and also our EAP and trauma services. Currently at National Highways, we have a headcount of about 6,700, and that goes up to 7,000 to cover full-time equivalents. And we have a really broad spectrum of people that work for us. So we have office-based people, engineers, admin, other parts of our business, financial business services. And then we have our on-road people, so people that sit in our contact centres and watch the roads for us, and the guys and girls that are out on the road in those vehicles that look like they may be police vehicles. And so you slow down just as you go past them, just to make sure they are not police vehicles and they are in fact National Highways vehicles waiting to go and be deployed out onto the network. We've got a really eclectic mix of people as well. So a lot of people come to our traffic officer service. They are normally second careers. They come from blue light. We have a lot of burnout from those guys as well. So they come because they've burnt themselves out in different. So we have quite a few people from London Ambulance Service that work on our M25 crews. And so we inherit some people with issues, and they are very open in our EDI process about that. And if they come with chronic conditions that may need support, and we've been working really hard on that and how occupational health and wellbeing can support our HR colleagues in making sure that when someone joins us, they thrive within that community. So for me, it's about the services we provide, how we provide them, and making sure that there's equitable access regardless of where they work within the national of the company. I also am a massive paper pusher now. That is my job role. The proverbial virtual paper pusher, policies, advice, and dealing with complaints and things like that, which are few and far between. So, but it's always nice to give a little bit of advice, and then somebody might go, "Can I just ask?" And I go, "Yes, of course you can." Let me tell you.
Look at this paper.
Yeah.
Oh, I have 101 questions already. None of these are planned questions, but does the service differ largely within well-being for different roles, or when someone's onboarded into the company, do they get the same service across the board?
So we have, we've had this conversation actually within the organisation. I am moving us away from the square peg round hole and we'll just keep smacking it until it fits situation. I also, when people come to me and go, "I'd like to do Wellbeing Wednesday or Fruity Friday," and I have to internalize my complete anger at that point. It's about understanding, it's about the health risks for us, and about, we know our biggest sickness absence rate is linked to musculoskeletal and mental health. We need to get better at looking at what is work related and what's not in the mental health space particularly. But we offer a really wide variety. We have an EAP service that also runs our trauma services, and they also offer legal assistance and financial assistance. So it's about the knowledge that we give people. So we offer a really broad scope of wellbeing pieces, as well as physical and mental health. We work on a trimester system at National Highways where we do be nourished, be active, be resilient. And we try and fit everything under those three headings. And we open as much as we can with that. We also work with our reward partners as well for discounts, because we're public sector, so we can't offer everything, but we are able to offer discounts. And, we can't offer gyms on our sites, but we offer reduced membership gyms and things like that. So, but for us, it's about getting that knowledge out. That's what we're working on at the minute. We offer a lot, but not everyone knows about it. And in particular, our traffic officer service, because it's 24/7, they work shifts, we have to try and pump out and do lots of different ways of communicating with them to make sure they get the most out of it.
Sure. So I guess with lots of the communication, you're trying to effectively make a proactive. You're trying to turn what would otherwise be a reactive approach to a proactive approach. So
absolutely, we're still very much in the reactive phase, but we're trying to move us to a more proactive piece. And again, we're looking at putting kiosks in, so people in our ROCs, or in our regional operational centres, people are attached to screens watching the road networks.
Mm-hmm.
We can't necessarily send someone in to go and do blood pressure checks and someone to have a chat with, so we're looking at putting kiosks in so people are able to self-serve and take the ownership of their own well-being and health and run with it. And that for me is a big thing. It shouldn't be us telling us this is how you should do it. It's about giving people the knowledge and the nudge to go, if this is something that interests you, go and have a look here, or we can offer you this in a broader spectrum over here. And it shouldn't be about the doing for people. It's about empowering them to be more in control of their own health and well-being.
Can you do that in the form of like routine checks, or instead it has to be you need it, you get it when you need, or you seek it when you need it? Or do you try and make it like a very process driven?
So our traffic officer service have a fitness to work. A lot of our operational teams have fitness to work medicals, assessments when we go through. So they have that touch point on a 2 yearly basis, whereas everyone else doesn't. So I think it's more about, we will offer it to you if you want it. And so we're having those discussions. So we used to do it. That was when everyone was in an office location and everyone was co-located together. It now becomes more difficult. And again, public sector, there's a budget to think about. Unfortunately, it does boil down to the brass tacks of how much is it going to cost, and are we going to get a return on investment? So we're looking about how we play the game differently, and how we, really uptick our enhancements to meet our need. But first of all, for me, it's about that communications. Our office staff tend to know more, and they are more engaged with it. And I need to get our operational teams, because they are the ones that are out there doing the hard slog at the sharp pointy end, and probably need more input from us. And they are also our older workforce as well. So we just need to make sure we're looking after them.
And I guess similarly with an office environment, people have that personal rapport, so it's easier to open up.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a remote job, you're then tied into your own individualistic thinking, because you spend time on your own on the roads. Or
yeah, absolutely. They not very often they dual crew. They are out in teams, but again, if it's a busy night on the network, they don't necessarily get to meet up. And even in our control rooms, as an individual, they have 4 screens to watch and a big screen. They don't get a chance to interact. Sometimes they do. Weekends, Sunday nights, it tends to be a little bit less crazy on the network. And again, but it's summertime, so it's busy. There's no guarantee. So, they are a really interesting group of people. They are our most at risk health-wise, but they are also our most hard to engage and contract with in terms of, this is what we're doing for you. We are relying on a lot of other people to contribute to that, and it's just getting them all to come down that one way with us.
Yeah, it is such an interesting role. Like you're either a taboo topic, something someone doesn't want to talk about, or something that someone could almost overshare to a point where then you're not sure if it's that's in need of help at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will happily. That's the reason why I went into nursing, because I'm inherently nosy, and people will tell you things. And I feel very privileged to hold the position where, even when I worked in the NHS, I feel really privileged that people feel they are able to talk to me, and I have their confidence to do that. And if I can still make a difference, even in this role now where I am slightly removed from that clinical role, it does mean the world. We go into nursing for the love of it. We don't go into it for the pay. And it is that inherent. We want to help people. We want to make things better. That's why we do what we do. My team, there's a team of 3. There's me and my wellbeing lead, who's awesome, and an administrator. We haven't got an administrator at the minute, so it's all a bit up in the air.
2.5.
Administration is not my key skill. But we're there. If someone sends an email, we respond to that email. We want to make things better. We want to make it as good as we can for people, because people have to work. People have got bills to pay. They're trying to make ends meet. We want them to be as well as they can be to make sure they can do that effectively. And we don't want them to feel that we are not supporting them whilst they do that.
Yeah, it's something that I actually cared deeply about. In a previous role, I had someone who was reporting into me who had some severe mental health problems. And since that moment, I've made a conscious effort every single week. I check in with every single member of our team to say, hey, how are you doing? Give me a number 1 to 10. And half the time it's not even about what number or feedback they're giving, but instead just the fact that conversation is open. And from that moment, I started doing that, whatever it was, 5-6 years ago. I've had multiple other members of staff come in and say, hey, I've got this thing going on, or hey, this is a family issue at home. But I didn't realize until having taken this new approach that you have to evoke you have to spark the fire.
You do. Genuine inquiries, and that's the thing, we tell our leads, you should ask. And I'm like, yeah, but don't ask if you don't mean it, and don't ask if you don't want the answer. You've got to be in that, they've got to be in a great frame of mind to be able to go, actually, what can I do for you? Is everything okay? And getting to know your people. I'm not asking our people to be best friends with their teams, although that's ace if you are, but it's about knowing your people and being able to have those conversations that are open. And because we do have conflicts with line managers and our people, and it's like, how has it got to this point?
But I mean, it's such a big organization that it's bound to happen, right? 6,700 people.
Everyone is different. It's about, again, we don't want the square peg round hole situation. Everyone needs to be themselves and an individual, but work to their best of their qualities.
Yeah. And how do you keep conversations around occupational well-being rather than well-being at home, or do you find the two kind of, you have to understand both sides in the middle?
There's no switch that says, right, I'm at work now, so whatever is happening. Obviously, I am at home at the minute. My children, I'm surprised they haven't made a guest appearance. Summer holidays, and my cat. So, we do except for our traffic officers and our rock operators, we do blended working. You cannot just switch the switch off that says, well, actually, I'm caring for my elderly parents, or I've got childcare issues, or, my marriage is on the rocks, or something like, or I haven't decided what's for tea yet, kind of thing. And that not be the coming to work. We don't put everything into compartments like that very often. So you come as a whole, we deal with a whole. We can't fix if it's something personal. And I'm very always clear with our line managers of, we have an EAP, we have other services, you can't fix it, but you can offer support and flexibility. And it's about the understanding and the empathy. They may not have been in that situation, but it's about the empathy to that person that goes, I understand it's not great today. Don't worry about it. Do what you can do, or have you thought about doing this? And just trying to offer that bit of support so the person doesn't feel bad at the end of the day. And they feel like, actually, do you know what? I'm going to try my best, or I'm going to do it because they understand me, they want to help. And that for me is the key thing. It is a whole person experience. It's never not going to be.
Yeah. Why can't we just flick a switch in your brain where all of a sudden...
I'll tell you, that'd be lovely. We'll just go into automaton mode when we come to work and just blat it out and then go back and deal with it afterwards. But no.
Do you find you have a work personality and a personal personality?
No, this is it. So if any of my seniors ever watch this, I'm afraid I won't change if I ever get promoted. I am all about, I am what I am. I don't think you should change. I don't think you should have to put a mask on for work, regardless of whether that's because you're ill or you are who you are. If you try and mask that, that's really hard work, and that will cause you mental health issues. We know that. So we talk about being your best self, thriving, regardless of what that is. We have loads of networks at National Highways. We have our Rainbow Roads guys, so people can be really open about their sexuality and their orientation and their gender, and we will support that. We have working parents. We've got a neurodiversity network. People need to be who they authentically are, because otherwise it just don't work.
I 100% agree. I most definitely do not have a work mode.
I have a stressed out work mode when the out of office is going on and I'm trying to do everything before I'm allowed to leave. But other than that.
And then, like, to move on to the next question I've got here, like, when you were a senior occupational health and safety manager at HS2 during COVID times, how did that impact like regular duties within occupational well-being? Because obviously that like is a whole spiral in itself.
Yeah, that was that went very quickly. One day we were all coming into work, and the next day we were like, yeah, don't get on a train. And by the way, you can all work from home now. But we maybe haven't got the IT to maybe support that. That was a very quick fix. For me, it was great because it meant I could do loads of wellbeing. So we went from having maybe fortnightly to monthly webinar sessions about stuff to really engage in our service. And the first week we went into lockdown. So I'd been told, me and my line manager kind of got the hint of what was going on. And so a week before everyone else kind of went into lockdown, we were like, we're not coming into the office, just saying we're going to stay at home and prep for this because this has got horrendousness written all over it, but we'll see. Because everyone's like, oh, it'll be all right, we'll only be out the workforce for a couple of weeks, it'll be fine. And we engaged with the service provision really quickly. And the first week we did a webinar a day for everyone. And it was about, and essentially they were daily check-ins. And I had 150 people to 200 people on those webinars every day. And this wasn't even on Teams. We didn't have Teams then. I think we were just transferring over to it. And it was like, oh, and it was glitchy and horrible. But there was an opportunity for people to just go, I'm all of a sudden I'm sat at home, or I'm sat in a shared occupancy house and we're all in here together, and that's not normal. And so it gave people the ability. And we did a bit about change and how to cope with change. You know, how to set your DSC on a bloody ironing board to make sure you could stand up and have, because people were working off the ends of the beds because nobody was really working from home on a regular basis, you know, and they're all like hunched over like this. You're thinking, oh, so yeah, we went from doing a few webinars to, I did a webinar a day, and then I was doing a webinar a week. And I was doing the governance for our mental health first aiders and wellbeing ambassadors and making sure that they were able to check in, and then supporting the line. It was just, I was absolutely in my element, to be fair.
We're going to say it was just carnage, but then you turned
it was carnage, but I quite like carnage. As an ex-A&E, I do quite like carnage. But you do have to stop and breathe and get off the treadmill at times. But it was, you know, and my line manager there, Fiona King, was awesome. We were both singing off that same page that said, this is what we need to do. We just need to provide enough support for everyone to be able to access it whenever they want, and just say it's okay to not be okay right now, because we have never experienced this in our lifetime. What does it look like? There's people who've got families all over the world. We had someone who was in Italy where it had broken out and in one of the worst places, and her family was there. She tried to get back. And it's just being able to go, we can provide this support for you. Or I've got 10 minutes to talk. You'll feel better once you've talked about it, honestly, and get it off your chest. So it's difficult. And then we had the whole DSE and how are we going to provide chairs, tables. And eventually it was about how do we open up a little bit. And again, our London offices were a bit of a safe haven, more so than our Birmingham office, because we had a lot of people who worked for us who were in flat shares or house shares, where there were 6 of them all trying to work from home on not the fastest of broadband systems. And, you know, it wasn't possible. So they were coming in, and we had regulars that would come into the office at Euston and sit and have, you know, social distanced conversations, but at least it was somewhere that they could still go and work and feel productive. We had quite a few people who'd come over from Australia, you know, they couldn't get back home. So it's about them having that, although there wasn't a lot of people in that, they had that social interaction and they had the ability to still feel like they were part of something and being productive.
And do you think that COVID really like pioneered a change in attitude towards mental health and like in general and in the workplace?
For sure.
Enabled like an open conversation, which otherwise people would have been like,
yeah, I mean, I think it allowed people to have honest conversations, because this whole screen thing felt a bit more safe. I think we're still navigating that. I think line managers sometimes find it difficult to support people via the medium of the screen. But it's just a skill set change. But I think it does And also we have apprentices that come through and graduates that went through the last bit of schooling through COVID. They were socially isolated then, and we're bringing them back in. So all of our apprentices and graduates we bring in, and we do a massive piece about that being together and collaborating. But also the first thing we do is introduce all of our wellbeing services and our ability to talk, and all of our mental health first aiders. And we encourage them to become mental health first aiders and advocates of services. So they feel part of that, and they're able to have the open conversations and not feel like, I can't say that.
Yeah. And like, how do you measure the effectiveness of your work, your output? Like, what do you use to measure if the company are happy, sad, communication gap, or what metrics would you use within occupational wellbeing generally?
Wellbeing is notoriously hard to measure. Ask any of my colleagues. We're all still trying to figure that one out. We record a lot. We're getting better at the data. For us at National Highways, we do an engagement survey. And actually across the board, the wellbeing services are phenomenally high in terms of their scorings and the engagement. People do feel like the wellbeing is on par. They feel supported. It's other pieces around line manager, the seniors, not me, those higher up above me, that maybe feel there's a disconnect. But the wellbeing in general, I think those that know and actively seek it out, and then there's those that we have to sort of cajole into it, but once they've used it, they're going, oh, that's really good. Yeah. And that word of mouth thing really spreads. So our engagement survey is a really good measure.
The engagement survey is like are you happy, are you sad, or is it more of
it's a scale about, we have quite a large scale from 1 to 5. We work with WorkBuzz to do that now. We've changed over, and there's quite a lot of insights, so we give them free text boxes as well, which are always fun when you get those back. Because it is only a snapshot in time as well, depending on what day they decide to fill it in. If they've had a particularly bad day, you are going to get the reflection of that. And we also send it out in January, prior to the credit card bill, lack of holiday and lack of sunlight. But it's one of our measures. But consistently, I wait for it to come in and go, look, we're still doing good. We're still doing good. That's not to say we're not. There's room for improvement, but to blow our own trumpet while we're on here. So we have just achieved excellence in the Workplace Wellbeing Charter. We're one of the first to do that on the new scope. So we came out of that across the whole of wellbeing. We looked at inclusion, we looked at physical health, absolutely everything, and we scored excellence. And we're really, really proud of that. There's still work to be done, but we did it 3 years ago when there was gaps. We filled those gaps. And we are super proud of where we are as an organisation. Who we are lucky. We have quite a solid budget to work with for wellbeing. It's not the biggest budget, but I think it just proves that if you know your people and have those health risks, and you know kind of where your key points are, you can focus it to make sure you hit the sweet spot, as well as doing the more broader stuff for everyone. Because everyone should access wellbeing. You don't have to be sick to access wellbeing. That's the thing. And that, we did laughing yoga earlier in the year. I've never been so uncomfortable in my entire life. But people loved it. And it was one of our own colleagues that approached and said, I'm trained to do this. And we were like, yeah, why not? Let's give it a whirl. Yeah. People loved it. I was like, oh my goodness.
What is this world?
Yeah. But, and whatever, what floats people's boats, everyone's different. So we were like, well, why not?
Yeah, of course. And then if you have a budget assigned for wellbeing, do you have to attribute a return on investment on that money, or is it more just the value is perceived of just people are performing and people are happy?
I think previously that was the case. I think now, because obviously we've got a new government, budgets are tight, we're having to, look at how we spend our money, mainly on our projects. They'll never take that budget out, but I think I have to justify the return on investment, or how, what does that look like? Because again, it's really difficult to measure. I can probably show a reduction in the musculoskeletal stuff potentially. Our engagement with our EAP service is 22%. which is high, a lot higher than a lot of people. And it's consistently between 21 and 23 all the time.
Nice.
People use that service. When I first started to report that to our exec, they were like, oh. I'm like, why is everyone like taking a massive deep breath in? I don't understand. They were like, well, that's really hard. I was like, yeah, it's really good. People are using the service. They're like, yeah, but that means they're not well. And I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's trying to, like, when you speak to people about mental health, they envisage, the black and white photograph of a woman crying with the rain coming down the window with their head in their hands. That is what people think mental health looks like, and poor mental health. And I'm like, no, because everyone's got mental health. We're all on the like this continuum there. We're going along. So no, we can engage with it when we're well to enhance what we're doing. And it's been a bit of a narrative change.
Yeah. I really think it is a post-COVID world that's changed that forever. Like I've noticed it just.
Oh yeah, we'll never go back to where we were for sure. Yeah, we shouldn't. We should move forward, and it is. We should be able to have open conversations. People should be able to say, actually, today I don't feel great because of, and it could be the most random thing. The straw that breaks the camel's back could be the most random thing, but it's still people's feelings are valid, regardless of whether it wouldn't bother me. It's still a valid feeling, and it's what they're going through.
Yeah, no, 100%. And do you find that different demographics, be it age, gender, sexuality, whatever it may be, have a different approach to mental health and well-being at this time, or now that it's become common conversation within the organisation, is it kind of everyone will come to you for different reasons?
Pretty much. We are a really open little band of people. To be fair, we do recognise that there are cultural differences, and they're sometimes really difficult to navigate. And we have helped our HR colleagues with that. During COVID, we at HS2, when I was there with that, we really embraced the fact that actually domestic abuse and violence would occur. And it's something we've never really discussed prior to COVID and the impact of that. And actually that is something that carries on now. And it is about recognising that. And that's quite a dark place to go. But actually it was the reality of the situation is people are being forced together in households where the escape is to go to work, but actually, no, you can't go to work now. And we don't know how we can best. So we brought on a group to help us with that. And again, with that mental health. And it was just really interesting because people want to share. They felt safe enough to share their experiences. And we get that as well at National Highways. We do a lot of peer-to-peer work. We do a lot of story sharing. We've done about addiction, substance addiction and alcohol addiction, and we've done about domestic abuse. And people are so grateful for that conversation. And they put comments in and they want to be able to support others and have that conversation on an open forum because it's safe enough to. And for me, that is a win because people feel safe enough to do that.
Yeah, because again, it comes back to that point. You have to spark it's a light the ignition to then spark the conversation.
And we've put all the links and then people go, oh, I didn't realize we did this. Oh, wow. And the momentum, you just got to keep on the momentum. I sound like a stuck record, but the momentum is great.
Yeah, no, it is good. It's all important. And do you find that, because you've worked in both private and public sectors, do you find that the conversation differs largely between those two sectors? Yeah, for sure. In what sense?
There is private sector. I think people aren't quite as willing to admit. That may have changed because it's been a while since I worked privately, but it's, there are consequences to not being well, potentially. I think that was seen prior to COVID is that, if I say I'm not well or I have some period of time off, I am exited stage left with a P45 quite quickly without the support. I'm not saying that's all private sector. Don't come at me. But it is, the support wasn't necessarily there. They would rather not deal with the issue and exit them and let them deal with it rather than go, actually, we can support you to do that. Whereas in public sector, that philosophy isn't there. We don't tend to go through rounds of redundancies. We don't tend to exit people very, quickly. And that sounds bad, like we do exit people, but really slowly. Most people that we do need to exit, we will exit. But if someone's got a mental health issue or a physical health issue, we explore all those options. There are, again, performance improvement plans. when they are done in discussion and done well, they are great. When they're not done well and not communicated, that's when we have problems, and people end up in my services because their line manager's a bully or their line man, and it's that narrative that we get. But I think it is fundamentally different. It feels a lot more safe to have conversations in the public sector. But that, I would have to say, in the construction industry, that is getting better because people like HS2, ourselves, where we go out to procure with them, they are following our lead of what we do. So that's really useful. So I think it is improving for them, and they've really come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we sell a lot to the construction sector with our technology products, and I've noticed the conversation has been.
Mates in Mind and the Lighthouse charity have done a great amount in that sector, really great amounts, and that's what you needed.
Yeah, it's genuinely saving lives. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is no better opportunity to try and follow through on suicidal ideation than in a construction site.
So dark. You're right.
There is ample opportunity, unfortunately. So that is the thing where you need to be in that space of, let's have a chat, let's discuss it. It's okay, we'll do it over your bacon butty. Don't worry, your mates are all supportive. Here's a brew.
Yeah, no, 100%. And do you think there's enough regulation and enough legislation to support workers with their mental health, or is it more of it's just a company to company approach as opposed to a regulatory board or legislation that practices coming in?
Well, we've had the Health and Safety at Work Act, and it is covered in there. I just think people forget about that. And ISO 45003, so the quality management systems and all that. I think it's in there. I don't know if we need more regulation. I think it's more about getting the people like myself, like those people who do this for a living and going, this is how you could improve it. This is how you should do it. This is an example of how it could be done. And that training piece, I don't necessarily think regulation is the key to it, because it's not a black and white subject. It is so subjective to everyone. I think you'd really struggle to get something that screwed it down to this. But I think there is elements of, we have a duty of care to people that comes out of the Health and Safety at Work Act that says you should be doing stress risk assessments. If you do a change and it's going to upset people and it's going to cause upset, why would you not do a group stress risk assessment with these people and go, this is what we're doing. We know that this is going to happen. We know it will upset the apple cart. Let's do this. Let's put something in place. Yeah.
And even if we became very, very analytics centric through legislation, it would end up just being manipulated because, as you said,
nobody wants to report the bad news.
Yeah. I mean, how do you find that how do you counterbalance your boss's search for productivity alongside a means of prioritizing well-being? Can the two be worked in unison?
Yeah.
People work better, or is it that you have to drive the horse so it can run fast?
We are looking, again, in the public sector, it's not a widget making situation. There are KPIs, as there is with everything, but our chief exec, Nick Harris, everyone on the board is really in that great space of wellbeing. I can go and sit at a board meeting, at a safety meeting, and say, this is what we're doing. These are our figures. And they genuinely want to know. They want to know what the improvements they can do. So for us, they understand that, a healthy workforce in general is a more productive workforce. They don't need to be a bum on a seat in an office necessarily. They just need to be somewhere where they can be and feel productive and know that work is good. And that is something I'm always pushing an open door whenever I go with the next thing I want to do. We've just run a massive project with a consultancy to look at what is it we need to do. And the results came back that actually everything's not too bad. You're doing really well. And we knew that from the charter. But actually, where are our gaps still? What can we do to improve? And we've got a 5-year plan now being built that says and they're all smaller projects. They're all enhancements. There is no burning platform, but they're still going to go, well, actually, yeah, we'd quite like to do that. We think that'd be great. Right. And we can measure it. So that for me is, as long as I am able to say, this is reason why we're doing it. This is the evidence to show why we should do it. And actually, we should get a measure out the back of it that says, I don't know, the the people that have, conducted health changes or gone onto the kiosk has increased. That's not a bad thing. They're just curious, So it's one of those things. Or our absence due to diabetes symptoms has dropped because we're providing that knowledge and ability to manage diabetes correctly or reduce weight or whatever that happens to be.
And do you think any of the routine checks or just general workplace practices that you do day to day could be improved by using technology?
Yeah, I think there is a place for technology. AI, I'm not so sure about. I'm still trying to get into the whole AI thing, but I think it has its place. There are quite a few providers out there where, if a team leader isn't a strong team leader in terms of not being able to talk to their teams, there are functions out there where they can use technology to provoke discussion. So we at National Highways we're doing safety culture change at the minute, which involves health, safety and wellbeing. It's called Be the Change. We use videos. We do huddles based off videos. We've done training. So we do it in person and online. So it's got to be, whilst we work in a hybrid world, the use of technology has got to be there because it helps, but it's got to be used in the right way. It's got to do good and not cause harm. And I think you've just got to choose what fits right for your organisation. It won't fit for everyone. Your small, medium-sized enterprises, it's not. They do like to have someone on site maybe, but it's there and it's useful. It is really useful, especially for those that are time poor as well in terms of their ability to fit something in. Small bite-sized chunks delivered via an e-learning package or a video. It's really useful.
Yeah. It makes things more efficient and more effective, but you still do need that personal touch.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't get on these conversations.
Yeah, we use a wisdom app from Health Assured, who are our EAP providers, and we're running a activity profile at the minute. So we're doing it's all based on the Olympics step challenge, but it's an activity challenge, and we have seen a massive uptick in people who are engaging on that. And we use the app, but they're then also looking at the app. They're using the live chat function. They're asking for callbacks. They're looking at the podcasts. So it again, that is something that we've introduced, and it's been really popular. The figures are astounding for what we've done. So we're really pleased.
Nice. It really does sound like your organisation are very lucky to have you. You do really care about this. I can see it just in the way you speak.
I do. And I have to say, Jane McGee, who works for me, who's my wellbeing lead, she's been at National Highways slightly longer than me. She's been there 7 years, and she is awesome. She is an awesome champion of wellbeing, of equality, of making sure that everyone has that access and equitability to be and to thrive at work.
Nice. 1 in a million.
She is.
Nice. That's very kind of you. But look, Faye, that's all I had for today. I've run through my magical sheet of questions. So, thank you very much for speaking with me today. I do love having these conversations because I just learn so much as an individual, and it's always fun to just do them alongside that.
Cool. I've really enjoyed it. It's been nice to talk about it. It's nice to be able to be asked to be on my soapbox and discuss all the great stuff.
You're a star. Cool. I'm going to hit stop on the recording, but yeah, thank you very much.
No worries.